With that being said, this comic actually is from DC. I triple checked. It's Zach Wilks.
How many looking at me thought I might be the manager of the place? Yeah, I get that a lot. It's really difficult. I can't get through Target without, no, I don't know where that is. No, I am not the manager. This is just white man in your 50s. Yeah, this shit ain't pretty. We crack hard. But I see some of the young guys here. I want you to not to worry that if you make it to your 50s, it's okay. You still get ass, okay? It's just different, man. It's called a colonoscopy. Now, I know, like, when you get close, like, you start fear, but don't fear a colonoscopy. I just had one. It's not so bad because they give you the good drugs. Because I afterwards, the doctor's like, did you feel anything? And I said, no, man, you could have run a train on my ass. The doctor said, yeah, I know, as he was putting his pants back on. Because they give you this stuff called propofol. You all know propofol? Okay, yeah, the stuff that killed Michael Jackson, all right? Yeah, yeah, people, oh yeah, I know that, yeah. And the doctor even said that. He says, there's some risk to this. I said, oh no, make mine a double. I'm perfectly ready for my last words to be, and to moonwalk into heaven. Because when you get to be in your 50s, you don't fear death anymore. You know it's coming. You just don't want it to hurt. So, yeah. But speaking of anal things, anybody seen that new show, Heated Rivalry? Yeah, okay, yeah. My wife really got into this show, and if your wife or significant others into it, go with it. Because my wife, she was watching, she was getting so horny, so excited. As soon as the show was over, we started having sex, and I suddenly had this thought. I whispered in her ear, I said, hey, are you thinking about those guys in that show? She stopped. She said, why? I said, because I am. Got a little weird, but, at this age, you just go with it, okay? Now, my mother-in-law recently was staying with us. My mother-in-law is originally from Egypt. My family is Jewish. My daughter feels very conflicted watching the Ten Commandments. My mother-in-law is a very good Christian woman. She not only loves nothing more than to read the Bible, but to talk about it. This is a woman who not only will invite Jehovah's Witnesses into the house. Jehovah's Witnesses are the ones who are desperately trying to think of an excuse to leave. And so when we were first dating, my wife was like, hey, I want to make a good impression on my mom. We're going to take her to church. I said, I can do that. I grew up in the South. I can do church. Now, if you're familiar with Southern and in the South, white people in the South, we go to church because we are afraid of judgment. Not from the Lord, but from the rest of the congregation. My family, we used to go to Our Lady of Bless Your Heart. Now, some people may not be familiar. There's a huge difference between Southern white church and Southern black church. The main difference is that Southern white church, much more passive-aggressive judgment, less hats. The other thing I have to say is that the main difference between Southern white church, Southern black church, is, of course, the food and the music. It's much better at Southern white church. You all thought I was serious about that shit? No. I say this because I live in D.C. and Baltimore, so yeah, I do perform in a lot of black rooms, and I like to say this as a warning to any black guys who might think about doing something crazy of not only dating a white chick, but going home and spending the weekend with her family, even after they saw Get Out. To warn people that there is something worse than having someone steal your brain. It's called a Southern white church potluck, where all the potato salad is made by white ladies. One word, raisins. But we go to my mother-in-law's church. My mother-in-law went to like a mega church. This thing was huge. It used to be a basketball arena. It had a retractable roof, which they kept, I guess, to make the exiting easier when the rapture came. And in the front, they had a shark tank. Okay, it was a baptismal pool, not a shark tank, and they had they didn't have a band, they didn't have a choir, they had a band who was playing rock music from the 90s, trying to make it sound Christian, like, God said knock you out, Jesus said knock you out, pour some scripture on me. Yeah. Anyway, after church, we go back to my mother-in-law's house. My wife does something really crazy and stupid. She leaves me alone with her mother. She will really begin to regret this. I don't know what to do with her mother. I turn on the TV. I turn on CNN. There is Jerry Falwell. Joel, remember Jerry Falwell? Right-wing Christian preacher, and he is talking on and on about how terrible sodomy is, how evil sodomy is, how you should never, ever do sodomy. I'm sitting there with my mother-in-law watching Jerry Falwell talk about sodomy. That's pretty awkward, right? But wait, it gets worse. Because my mother-in-law, she's immigrated from Egypt. She speaks pretty good English, but there are some words she don't know. Guess what one of those words is? Sodomy, that's right. And sure enough, she turns to me, Zachary, can you tell me what is this sodomy? I looked her right in the eye and say, be easier if I showed you. Thank you all very much.
Zach Wilks, everyone, give it up one more time for him.